I will begin with an apology, which is that unfortunately tomorrow we have in Merton a by-election. So I was thinking that would mean we have no councillors at all this evening, but in fact we do have two. I wanted to pay you this evening, so we do have two councillors. In fact, all three Trinity councillors are here this evening: Hayley and Paul and myself. And I don't think we have any other councillors here this evening. Others may join during the evening. I'm sorry about that. It is, as I always say, it's your meeting and it's for you to question councillors and officers and hold us accountable. And I'm afraid it's just simply the luck of the draw that the by-election is literally tomorrow morning. So I'm sorry about that. So we're starting with the open forum this evening. We've had one or two people indicate that they would like to speak, but shall we just begin with a sort of open forum with anybody who wants to contribute or raise any issues, problems, concerns, or questions? Come forward. You did indicate you wanted to speak, so please feel free to go ahead. Thank you.
I've just distributed these leaflets on the table. Yes, I've distributed these leaflets into the tables. I'm arranging this public meeting on Monday in the evening. It's going to have a doctor, a medical doctor and an engineer. We're talking about 5G and its implications in our health and our children in particular, to affect smaller bodies more, and some privacy issues. And there'll be a question and answer session as well. Many of our local reps will be there. And so hopefully it'll be a good session. If you've got any questions or any concerns, even if you're sceptical, please come and we'll all learn together. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And leaflets are on the table.
Yeah, I've got plenty more if you need some. I can just hand them out to you. So.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, questions, comments, yes.
Yeah. There is a contract in place.
So I'm really sorry, with the door I couldn't hear, but I did that time. So Chris will check for us hopefully, but I actually understand, because of something else I was involved in, I understand the answer is no. Do you mean for advertising?
For anything. So for example, the 5G route is going to have to go on the lamppost. Who owns the lamppost to give that permission and has any contract been signed?
So Chris may correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that the lighting and the lampposts are all owned by us, by the council, by the community, and that nobody has any right to put anything on them at the moment. Occasionally council notices go on, but that's the only right. And I'm pretty sure that's correct because of something I was involved in a year ago.
And will there need to be planning permission or consultation for a contract to be put in place for somebody to be able to put things on the lamppost?
If I'm honest, I'm sorry, I don't know whether. My guess is the council would have to consult because the council would certainly have to tender for something like that. So my guess is there will be a consultation before the tender.
For transmitters for 5G, isn't there new development rights that are going to be given to them by central government for transmitters up to 85 metres for the 5G rollout?
Yes, but I feel it's funny. I don't very often get caught standing alone up here on something I know nothing about. But I would still suspect, and Paul and Hayley and Chris may or may not be able to help me, I would still suspect that even if a central government give permission to a party or a license to a party to build something or to construct a transmitter in a particular borough, you would still need planning permission from that borough to put it in a specific place. But Chris is kindly writing away furiously, and we will check all this.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Hello.
Different topic?
Sorry.
Different topic?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Do you want me to come to the front? Or?
Yeah, please do, yeah.
I just want to ask the new bollards and seating. Oh, hello. The new bollards and seating in Wimbledon Town Centre outside Centre Court, I assume is to stop vehicles ploughing and pedestrians on the pavement.
Yes.
I have no objection to that at all. We appreciate any improvement in security. My concerns are the placement of the bollards and the seating, because especially where the road narrows coming up towards Wimbledon Bridge, it's very narrow and restrictive for people in wheelchairs, pushchairs, mobility scooters, etc., potentially causing a bottleneck. Further down, you've got people at the bus stop. You've got a huge area that vehicles could drive onto, and also the bollards are placed. I should think probably about 2 to 3 foot from the edge of the curb, so the pavement, so you see a lot of people walking on the outside of the bollard, so they're getting no protection at all. It's actually forcing people that way. So I'm just a bit concerned about the layout of it and how it's been designed, and I wonder, should this be looked at? I don't know what other people's thoughts are, whether people have got anything to add to that and agree with them.
Okay, any
They
other?
were very
thank you.
expensive.
They are. Any other comments?
Why is
So-
the bus stop completely unprotected?
So, I don't know the answer to why the bus stop's unprotected, I'm afraid, I'm sorry, but you are right in what you say, that it is for security, and I do know there's a lot of time and effort went into that, but all of these initiatives to make sure that the bollards are as far as possible in the right place, and that they protect pedestrians, and certainly in things like wheelchair access and movement of people and crowds, all of that is taken into consideration when they're put together. However, that's a very fair point you've raised in terms of your own experience and your own thoughts, and so Chris will make sure that the officers that are involved in that see it, so that they can see your comments and your concerns. Yes.
A gentleman who worked for Conway told me that it was Love Wimbledon and had,
Sorry, told you that.
Love Wimbledon they had been working with the layout, and I just wondered since Helen is here if she had any information on that.
I can say absolutely not. It's nothing to do with us at all. It's Network Rail that have insisted on this.
Really?
Yeah, so it's a Network Rail in order to protect the station. My understanding is that there may be further measures coming in to protect the bus stop later on, but obviously because of the tennis, there's an embargo on works in the meantime. With regards to the restriction, they have to be set a certain distance apart. I don't know all the details of that, but my understanding is that they have to be set a certain distance apart, which is why there is that certain width. And the seating is actually forming part of that, so although they're not upright bollards, they are counter-terrorism measures as well.
That's
What
quite
will be
obvious.
happening in the future is that the big CCTV column that is located there that is providing an additional obstruction at the moment. Again, my understanding, we're not directly involved in any of this, but my understanding is that that also will be removed to allow freer access. But as you say, that is on the road side, it's not on the pavement side, as it were.
But that would help.
Has not had anything to do with any of this.
So my understanding is the same, that the seating is concrete and looks nice, but it's also part of the protection for.
That's right, yes.
Yeah, I did ask a question to the council about it, and all that's correct. And the reason why they are where they are is because they have to be rooted into the ground, and there's pipes and things closer to the road. That's why they are set back from the road like they are. I think they're terrible, actually. I think they're an absolute eyesore and awful. The reason you have those benches are there is because there's, again, things under the ground because they couldn't route the bollards. And as you say, it's the money came from Network Wales, they used it there. There is a plan to do glass up as well. But all you seem to be is anyone can just drive another bit of the road, pavement, and to kill people. It just seems to me bonkers idea myself.
And I think there should be a warning on the seating to not sit there facing the road because you can't.
Okay, any other questions, comments, thoughts this evening?
Just a quickie, the new parking charges when is the decision by the council, the final say-so, going ahead on that? And this is the March meeting, unfortunately.
So it's going to be considered by scrutiny next Thursday,
Next
the
Thursday.
7th, and then following that, due to go to Cabinet on Monday the 15th of July.
So it's deferred to right.
And anyone can go to that scrutiny meeting, and anyone can go and sit in the audience of the scrutiny meeting and the cabinet meeting to see what they have to say.
Yeah.
But for anybody who wants to do that, you're better to go to the scrutiny meeting than the cabinet meeting.
Why was it deferred? Was it not to be in June?
That was the original plan, but we had 3,000 responses. It takes a bit of time to read through all of that.
Right.
Oh, hello. Yes, as you know, the bins in Wandle Park were taken out as part of some sort of investigation or pilot scheme. I'm pleased to say that one bin has been reinstated, so that's good. So there is a bin in Wandle Park now. There were several, but now only one, but that's better than none, I guess. I don't know why there's only one.
I thought there were two.
Sorry?
They're not two. Someone told me there were two.
Two? Oh, well,
Possibly.
maybe I've missed one. Okay, thank you.
So some have been removed, I mean around the borough, some have been removed, but some are going back again, having been removed. Hayley, were you?
There's
Claire.
Oh, sorry, hello.
Hiya, just Claire Walshe, I'm going to speak for a minute on breakfast recycling, but I can speak about either as well. The one department, there should be four, so thanks for highlighting that. If there aren't four, I will check it tomorrow. Because you should have been reinstated four key points. So there were 10. We took them out to the trial. The trial is now completed and there's been 4 replaced. So we will check that, but there are 4.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Further questions, comments, ideas? Okay, thank you all very much for that. So Claire has actually already introduced herself. The next item is waste collection street cleaning. Claire Walshe, the Neighbourhood Client Officer from Merton Council. Claire, you're very welcome, and over to you. She's on, actually.
Everyone hear me at that level? Everyone hear?
Yes.
Great. So good evening, I'm Claire Walshe, I've been here before to talk about the same sort of thing. I'm here to talk about refuse and recycling this evening. I can't stay for the entire evening, so if there are any questions that don't come up in this session, please let Chris know and he can let me know and we can get them answered and they can come out in a minute. First of all, I want to say a huge thank you for your patience and help and support throughout the last year or so and the roll out and the pre-mobilisation and everything like that. We were aware that there were issues, large issues, small issues of all sorts and sizes. We are hoping that we are now working at a business as usual in the main. There are still issues coming up, and as long as everybody's using the right channels, so through the website and things like that, that is fantastic. Thank you for the support of the local councillors as well. We've had lots of site meetings with them, with residents as well. We have been reassessing properties that have been wrongly allocated, and we have been working on audits along shop fronts where there have been issues with bad presentation and lighting and things like that. That's work that's continuing to go on. In relation to the website, we are working on changes to the website to make it easier to report things. There is already the ability to renew your garden waste online if you need to now, and there is also the ability to anonymously log fly tips, I think, because there was lots of issues with the forms for too long. You had to fill in your name every single time, and if you just wanted to quickly log fly tip, it was quite frustrating, so that's been amended as well. In terms of other recycling elements, there has been the removal of a recycling centre in Rains Park for a specific project, but we are monitoring all the other ones as part of a wider review. So they're being monitored for Veolia's performance, which they are collecting. That one looks a bit of a mess at the moment, but that's because that's been fly tipped in, so we'll get that sorted tomorrow. And just a really reminder to log stuff through the website or to call the contact centre, or if you've got our email to contact us if it's a long-standing issue that you've been in touch with us before. But if anybody's got any questions, I will try and answer them as best I can. Anything I can't answer tonight, I will take away and get back to you.
I've got 2 observations. One is we were given these big blue lidded bins, to put the cardboard and paper in to stop it getting wet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if it's been raining or anything and I go out to put anything into that, as I lift the lid, all the water runs straight into the bin. So it's worse off now than what it was before I had that bin. That's one observation. And the second one was I noticed this week was when the men came to empty the food waste bin, we've got some like little stones and that going down the pathway bit. And what they did, instead of taking the bin, he just took 2 bags by where I tied them up at the top, the food waste bin, walked across those stones with them to put them in his own bag. Now, if they break, who's going to come and clean that up?
Okay.
A week's full of food waste. Why am I not taking the bin and actually emptying the bin?
Yeah, no, they should certainly be doing that. if
Because
there's
those
distance,
bags are so
definitely.
flimsy, aren't they?
Yeah, we can take that back to the crews.
Well, we're on the All Saints estate. But I should imagine it would happen anywhere.
That's a general note we can make to all the crews to remind them. Thank you.
I've just received my bins this week. And,
I'm sorry that took so long.
Yeah, there's a lot of emails, and the potential is that we might be assessed wrong even now. So if the bins are not the right size for us, could we come to you, we can sort it out straight away?
So, yes, I can take your address, absolutely. The reassessments are for properties where there's no room for the bins, or they are a flat above a shop, or they're not flat above a shop, but they're a flat above a flat which has got no storage. So those are the sort of reassessments that we're talking about. But if you've got room for your bins and you're able to present them, then you're probably on the right service.
Oh, yeah.
But if I can take your address.
Okay, yeah, I can do it now.
If you're happy to broadcast it in the room, if not, you can. Lovely, thank you.
I had a risk collection last week, Palmerston Road.
Okay.
The main household rubbish was collected, but the papers and the cardboard was not. And the food waste was collected.
Okay.
But there were 2 bins exactly side by side, so they emptied one and ignored the other.
We'll take that back because that's strange, because the paper would go in the same vehicle as the food, so unless there's some...
The food is always separate in the brown box, okay?
No, but it's a dual vehicle, so on the week where it's paper and card, food goes in one side and the dry recyclables go in the other, and then the other week it's the box. So
I can't understand why they emptied the
No, I can't.
household rubbish and the,
I'm sorry about that, so it's Palmerston Road.
Claire?
Yes.
That's my street.
Okay.
And that's
Is it the same for the whole
It's
street?
the same, so I did call up, but it's over the things were the ones which were still left out. People was present to take them into it.
Okay, so any residents of Palmerston Road, I'm sorry about that. We'll take, we've got a colleague from Veolia here, we'll take that back to the operation crews and ensure that's happening again. Thank you.
Firstly, thank you so much for coming out, because I know it's not easy. And secondly, I just wanted to say that we did have this food collection yesterday. I reported it this morning online, and it was relative in about 2 hours, so it was working.
Fantastic. That's good to hear.
Positives.
Thank you very much. Lady at the front.
With the Batters Residents Association, I've got 2 points. I wrote to you last summer about the both the street cleaning and the weed growth, but the street cleaning has improved. It's about the weed growth. I've noticed walking down Victory Road. I haven't been down the other roads, but I imagine it's exactly the same.
Yeah, the weeds.
The weeds are already bad, and just wanted to flag it up because the sooner they get onto it, the better. And also, I did comment to you last summer. I know that the street cleaners are issued with a hoe, and the wonderful one we had a couple of years ago, he did actually use his hoe, and he had lovely streets in. But it'll be so much easier and obviously better not to have be using chemicals if not necessarily every day, but they could attack some sections of the street with the hoe and remove them by hand, and then it's going to be easier for them to clean anyway.
Yeah,
that's one point.
We did some joint inspections, all 3 Neighbourhood Client Officers and Veolia across a couple of wards last week, and we found the streets cleaning standards to be entirely up to scratch, and a lot of that was to do with weeds. We've had an operational meeting this week with the streets manager, and we've referred him to the part of the contract that says that the crews should be using all of their tools to remove the weeds and supplementing that with weed sprays, of which we are in the second round at the moment. So we would expect, having had those conversations, that the weeds will be dealt with in a timely manner. I'm not saying it will be gone tomorrow, but they are in a programme, and we have informed them that they should be.
So in a month or so, if it's still bad, do I write direct to you, or do I report it on the?
So there's a report it function for the weeds. Yes, it's under street cleaning. Yeah.
And the second point is.
Can I just add to that before we move on to your second point? If the leaves have been cleared up properly and in a timely fashion in the winter, I think a lot of the weed problem wouldn't exist, because there wouldn't be all the muck in the curb, in the gutters for the weeds to take grip.
Yeah. We know detritus is also a large issue. We feel like the litter has improved in most areas. There's still pockets where litter is a problem, associated with fly tipping and the aforementioned flats above shops where either crews aren't getting to it or it's been placed up just a little bit too late and things like that, which we're working on. But yes, detritus is a big issue, and we are dealing with that.
And the leaf clearing was not satisfactory.
No, it's we have got a review of that going forward, because we have to plan for next year. So any feedback on that would be great.
Well, I'm telling you.
Thank you. I mean areas particularly, but that's fine. You can
right, I can. That. Yeah.
And this is a specific issue for the junction of Quicks Road with Merton Road, and residents have complained, reported it by phone or via Trinity councillors. There are wheelie bins almost at the junction on either side of the road, so I'm not sure of the numbers of the houses, but there's like a blue lid and a black lid on either side. And those houses, if they don't have space for the wheelie bins, they shouldn't have wheelie bins at all.
We can reassess those.
They should have the rubbish bags.
Yeah.
And particularly on what I call the right-hand side near the cafe, it's an absolute magnet for fly tipping. The bins are always full, nearly always full, and then other people just dump their bags of rubbish on the pavement. So if the wheelie bins are not there, then we don't have that problem, and they should just simply be taken away. They shouldn't be allowed to have them.
I'll arrange a reassessment with the team.
Thank you.
Are their collection the same day as ours? Because if their collection on the north side...
Can I suggest that we all move forward so that we can all hear?
Sorry.
Everyone else is like me, having great difficulty hearing.
We're just discussing the corner of Quicks Road junction with Merton Road and the wheelie bins that are there and the fly tipping hotspot near the cafe.
I'm just suggesting we all move forward, because people in the audience
Well,
they can't be...
If you want to, you can here. So you can hear.
Or maybe people could use the mic. To get something, you could use the mic.
Can I add to that? And I'll...
Well then, sir, please move forward. There's space out here.
Can I add to that, and I'll speak very loudly? That particular spot, I took photos on Monday, which I haven't yet emailed in, to report fly tipping, because on the pavement is a lot of... There was a plastic Sainsbury's orange bag that's obviously come apart, or the stuff in it is spreading out, and there's a wheelie bin next to it that's overflowing. And if that collection day is the same as the other side of the road, which should have been Tuesday this week, it wasn't collected. And adding to that, not collecting overflowing wheelie bins does not help, because you just end up with more rubbish, flies, vermin, because people have nowhere to put their rubbish, and there'll be more fly tipping. So I understand the principle of not collecting if a bin is overflowing, but I think at this point that information needs to be passed on to the people doing it, because not collecting that rubbish just exacerbates the problem.
There's a piece of work ongoing which is all around sort of contamination and excess waste and that sort of thing, and it's about tagging the bins, and it's sort of an educational programme. So I can take that back about the excess waste bin problem. And there obviously, you can order larger bins. You can order a 240 for the refuse if you are regularly producing excess waste, and that's one of the bits of the educational letter that goes out once you have, I think, 2 or 3 tags, if you like, of excess waste. But,
so that's no longer only for 5 people or more in one household?
The rule is still more than 5, but I think the education thing would be encouraging people to recycle more. I don't know the letter, it's not from our team, unfortunately. But if there are real issues with side waste, it would be for the waste services team to make that call.
So
Yeah, a couple of things. At the top of Palmerston Road, there is a historic recycling site. Now, the main recycling components have been removed, but there are still 2 bins, and I think they're both for charity.
Yeah.
Now, still attracting fly tipping. It's, to be fair, it's not a huge amount, but you know it can attract fly tipping, and you know rubbish attracts rubbish. So I question why the bins are there. It's just at the corner of the car park. I question why these bins are still there. Secondly, about street gully cleaning. We've had some rain recently, and there will be others, but at the top of Palmerston Road, one of the drains was completely full, overflowing, and of course that goes down the road, and other drains may be capable of, you know, containing the water, accepting the water, and draining the water. So how often are the drains and the gullies cleaned?
So it should be once a year generally, and then ad hoc. But there is a piece of work ongoing at the moment, and there was some emergency call-outs this week because of the rain, and last week as well. So I will take a note of that. The top end of Palmerston,
the left-hand side going towards the Barberry. I think it might be the last drain. It is sort of getting towards that junction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then the charity bins.
Oh, sorry, and the charity bins. Sorry, the charity bins. I will check the frequency of the emptying because it might not be enough, and we'll also monitor them going forward.
Okay, so yeah, and then you at the back, so afterwards, and then back here.
Question why the bins are there in the first place, as it's not now an official recycling site.
Because
what's the point of having them there?
I will take it back to the team. There's comments about that. Because there are charity bins, I think we do get a small income from it. And they've been removed from White Road entirely because the whole site's been removed for future Merton projects. So I think if there hadn't been a project but it had just been abuse, the charity bins probably would have remained at White Road as well. So the charity bins remain because we do get small income from it. So what I can do is first of all check the frequency of emptying, or the amount of time they come, and then if that doesn't work, then I'll talk with the team that asset manage it, if you like, to see if we can get it moved or taken away.
But I mean, it's something that left a whole lot of choice. Why they didn't go across the charity shops, I don't know. The bins, to be fair, I think are emptied fairly regularly. I often see with that. But I mean, it's the principle of sort of why they're there. You've just explained perhaps you get some income from. Thank you.
Sarah,
can I ask, does your department, is its remit to include, do you include the cleaning of curbside gutters?
Yes.
So how often are they done? Because you'll know with considerable rain we've had recently and the weather, they're getting very, very clogged and ineffective due to the plants.
Yes,
that are growing.
the detritus of the weeds.
It's not, the gutters aren't working.
We are going around inspecting the streets. We've got 2 temporary inspectors as an extra resource at the moment who are going around specifically looking at streets and reporting issues such as the detritus, which is obviously impacting on the gullies. As I said earlier, they do the gullies on an A to Z basis, and then ad hocs when they're reported to the website, or we tell them to do it because we've had complaint and that sort of thing. In terms of the street cleaning as well, which we see impacts on that, it's generally once a fortnight, but we are doing a review of that because some streets will need cleaning more regularly and some streets will need cleaning less frequently just because there's no footfall and no trees and that sort of thing. So that review is underway as well.
The toxic situation at the moment with a mixture of warmth.
Yeah,
You know,
everything's growing at a rate of knots.
Potholes and all sorts, you know, it's the gutters aren't able to do the job.
Yeah. If there's any specific locations, please let Chris know or me know now and I can urgently push them through.
Kings Road between South Park and Prince's Road.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello Claire.
Hi there.
Lee Terrafranco.
Hi.
Just 3 quick things. There's a barbecue outside the library here. I reported it to the people in the library. They've confirmed it was dumped there by somebody who rented the space in the St. Mark's place. And it would be wonderful if you could have you guys take that away.
Yeah.
The second thing is on the point of the punishment that we won't take your bin if it's over full is a little bit unkind because we forgive you for your mistakes and we're trying very hard to report and we thank you for simplifying the reporting procedure because it takes time just to report what should have been done. Okay? But it would be very gracious of you to get the guys to take the overflow bins, at least for another year, and let's get people more into the rhythm of the recycling.
I can certainly take that back.
Sound fair?
We have a duty of care to collect it.
Yeah,
And
we forgive you, but can you please give us a...
Absolutely, I'll make sure that they program that in. We do have a duty of care to collect it, so it's more of it's in the first few instances, I believe it's an advice and we take it anyway. If it's not the case, I'll make sure that we're taking that back. But yeah, I'll make sure that we put that in the...
And you know what my last point is? Take it.
Yes, the vomit
The big
outside
viewer.
the library.
There is so much vomit in the town now, and I don't know, I'm looking for pennies on the road, so I do look at the footpath and I notice it. I like cleanliness on our footpaths and in our community. I, of course, clean it up when it's outside my road. But somebody, in Westminster, they have a jet spraying little thing, just like you've got the thing that does the roads. It's really bad. And there's also food that, particularly down by KFC, they just strew the French fries. It seems, I guess, they're serving too much. And it's the pigeons eating it, and then there's pigeon poo as well. We really appreciate, just on the main roads in the town. It's a terrible job, and I pity the poor guys that have to clean it up by hand. It should be a jet spray or a jet washer. Thank you very much.
I'll
I
see if
do
we can do
appreciate
it. Thank you. I'll see if we can get the net on there. I have seen a small mechanical vehicle driving around the streets, so I'll see what we can do about it.
Just no, we'll come back to you. Just see if there's anybody else. Any other questions, comments you haven't yet spoken, or we have, haven't you? But
Just a very quick one. It's in the middle of Fitz Road. There's a bicycle wheel which is chained to the railings. It's been there for months, and there is a white notice on it now for its removal. But the thing is, it's lying on the pavement, and we do have a blind man that comes up and down that pavement that goes up to the Sainsbury's. So I think if it could be removed sooner than later, it would be.
Okay, it sounds like if there's a notice on it now, it's being dealt with by probably traffic and highways because it's attached to some street furniture, but I'll take that back.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be lying on the pavement because it's an obstacle for him.
Yeah, I'll take that back.
Good.
Just a quickie, it's just something, I think they might do them in North America, but shop owners, when they see, so they are responsible for keeping the areas of the pavement in front of their shops clean, tidy, And I just wonder if something like this in a bylaw or something could be done. I appreciate it's the Main Street cleaning, but certainly in main places, Kingston Road, the Broadway, where there's a constant footfall, constant litter, and it's just something, they don't have to do it every hour, but sort of once in the morning, once in the afternoon, something like that, and owners on some of the shop, I mean, obviously, there are different shops would apply, but, there's a lot of footfall and, takeaways or whatever,
There's a very easy solution to that, which we've been using recently, and I think Helen will know it. We put a condition on the license. So it's a new liquor license or new kind of business operating in one of the premises, and you just list it as a condition. And they have to abide by it because they could actually have their license revoked. And so it really motivates them. They have cleaners on site anyway, and it worked with Five Guys. They were spilling oil, and you guys, my gosh, it's one of the cleanest pavements now. But we need people to write in when a licensed premises puts in an application. And then if you could be trying,
I can email licensing tomorrow.
And if you just would
sling it in one sentence on
It
that,
would make a huge
we would
difference.
get it, and we'd be very grateful for
I
that.
can certainly speak to licensing tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll do it. Thank you.
Hi. In the run-up to the wheeling out of the wheelie bins, we were told that a smaller capacity wheelie bin would be available in due course. Is there anything happening about that? Has that been scrapped? Is it coming?
So unfortunately, we were informed wrong. I was gaily telling people on the roadshow, to my discredit, and I apologise profusely. That's what we were told, and it came out to light afterwards that there is not a smaller bin. Unfortunately, the 180s are the smallest that we have.
So when did it come to light? Because you're not the only person that was saying that. We were told that for many months in advance.
There was a misunderstanding or miscommunication somewhere. I don't know where.
Veolia was saying it as well.
So I can only apologise for the miscommunication, but unfortunately there is no smaller container. I'm sorry.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Claire, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for your support. Thank you.
See us.
As I said, if there's anything that comes to mind, let Chris know, and you can let me know tomorrow.
And thank you for your dedication. I know that.
Thank you very much. It's been a tough year, but we are still trying very, very hard, and we hope that you notice the difference. We really, really do, because we want it to look good for everybody. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this is my 6th year chairing the forum, and some of you may remember that I did suggest a few years ago that as a forum we could develop a neighbourhood plan, and that's not something that at the time members or attendees of the forum felt they could commit to. But the initiative has kicked off, and so I'd like to welcome Rob Cowan, who's here to talk to us about a Wimbledon neighbourhood plan. So Rob, you're very welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Yes. Good, thank you very much. I'd like to introduce you to the residence plan, our town, our plan, the future Wimbledon, which you may not have seen, or if you have, you've probably forgotten it, because if we look at the full cover, you see it was written in 1984. We've been at this a long time. What the document says is that the problem is that Wimbledon has, the council has generic policies, but there's nothing very specific about the town centre, and there aren't strong enough policies to control development adequately in the town centre, with the result that what gets built tends to be rubbish. And July 1984. Well, but since then there's been an enormous amount going on, and there's a lot of organisations thinking about the future of Wimbledon Town Centre, and the good news is that there's a lot of consensus, there's a lot of common ground. And the question is, how do we turn that common ground into policies or things that will make a difference to Wimbledon Town Centre, and specifically to planning decisions? The council's preparing its master plan, which most people here have probably been involved with. The trouble is that a master plan is usually something that's done by an organisation, whether it's a local authority or anyone else, who controls a piece of land. And Merton Council doesn't control Wimbledon Town Centre. It has planning powers, but it doesn't control it. That's one problem. And another is there's a lot of it depends on Crossrail. A lot of things that the master plan looks to happen at Crossrail 2. We don't know when Crossrail 2 is going to happen, if it's going to happen. We don't know when Crossrail 1 is going to happen, or if it's going to happen. So we're looking at the possibility of a neighbourhood plan, and at the moment there are 2,500 neighbourhoods preparing neighbourhood plans at some stage, and 120 in London. 75% of local authorities have neighbourhood plans in their areas. Merton is one that doesn't. And there are actually more neighbourhood plans than local plans. And the government is strengthening the powers of neighbourhood plans, because they think that having local people, residents and businesses preparing a neighbourhood plan is a good way of trying to give teeth and local responsiveness to the planning system. So there's a lot of neighbourhood planning going on, which is why we're at the early stages of thinking about a neighbourhood plan for Wimbledon town, and we call it at the moment the complete neighbourhood, because it seems that that's an aspiration that we want for Wimbledon town, the town centre, a place that is well, here's the name, the aim to make Wimbledon the flagship of sustainable, environmentally friendly, healthy and economically prosperous living. And there's a group of priorities related to housing, employment, health and historic, natural and built environment. And the question is, how do we make a balanced community that's not just a business community, that's not just a residential community, but one that works well with both of those things. Here's the council's master plan, which is, well, the local plan has planning policy in it, which has which is a powerful influence on planning applications. The master plan has the has the status of guidance. It's a supplementary planning document, which means it has much less status than planning policy, so it's a lot weaker. So even though the council is trying to put in guidance to guide development, it doesn't have that much effect when it's finally adopted by the council. Whereas a neighbourhood plan has the status of policy. So the policies of the neighbourhood plan have more status, have more effect on determining planning applications than the council's master plan, which is why it's worth thinking about how we can get things that are the common ground between a lot of the organisations and the council in Wimbledon to get those things into the neighbourhood plan. And it doesn't have to be an incredibly extensive document, but we need to think about what are the most important things that we'd really like to control through the planning process for Wimbledon Town Centre, and get those into the neighbourhood plan. Even if it's only 3 or 4 things, let's give them the status of neighbourhood planning. The council's trying to think about, well, how do you guide development, and what's distinctive about it? What do we want to say to developers we want them to achieve in the town centre? And they've been trying to identify Wimbledon's DNA, and they look at the historic buildings and they think, well, maybe we need to identify the DNA and in a way say to developers, this is the sort of development we want, this is the sort of style that works in Wimbledon and that we like. But I think it doesn't really work that way, because actually in Wimbledon we've always got what people come along with and what they want to build. It depends on the client, on the developer, on the house builder. So at some stages in Wimbledon, people built when yellow bricks were in fashion. They put yellow bricks on the front and cheaper red bricks on the sidewalls. At other times, red bricks were in fashion, so they put them on the front, which is specifically Wimbledon. Well, none of them. This happened everywhere. 1887, Jacobean revival was in fashion. 1886, around the same time, the arts and crafts building, the building we're in, more arts and crafts development. Whatever is in fashion came along to Wimbledon, came along to everywhere in London. In 1897, for a church, well, Gothic was the fashion. Next to it, around the same time, Tudor revival. And then in the first years of the 20th century, brick and brickwork with banded stone. For a few years, that's what everyone used, particularly for civic buildings. Here it is. And a lot was built in Wimbledon at that time, so it sort of feels distinctively Wimbledon, but actually it was just what was being built at the time. 1910 Edwardian classicism. The 20s, strict Art Deco-ish modernism, the strict modernism of the town hall. Beautifully built building. It's not so much that it was the right style for Wimbledon, but it was by a client, the council in this case, wanting to build a really good building in Wimbledon. The 60s we got modernism of whatever quality people happen to want to build. More modernism, a bit of high-tech, contextualism, and then it's sort of arts and crafts. Someone's saying, we've got a big building here, let's take a few arts and crafts features and blow them up to a horrendous scale. And it'll take us about 10 minutes to design this building, and the result is horrendous. Nothing wrong with the arts and crafts style, it's just the whole approach, probably the budget, the client, and the other things that make it such a horrible building. This style doesn't actually have a name apart from the style of being, why do we need an architect at all? My cousin's a builder, he could build a building, a hotel, it's a simple building, let's get him in and he'll do it in a couple of months. Postmodernism on steroids, with the crudest possible detail. Yeah, I feel the same way as she does. And then somebody thinking, we've got to be content, we've got to do it the Wimbledon way. So what does Wimbledon? Oh, remember those Edwardian buildings with banded brickwork and stone? Well, let's put in some coloured brickwork. Now, the reason why this is sort of a bit Art Deco-ish is because the building over the road, which was an Art Deco building, so they thought, well, let's put some Art Deco features on this to reflect that building, and for the first time ever, combine Art Deco with Edwardian banded brickwork. So that's sad. That's a sad result. But even sadder is that the building that it was meant to reflect and respond to and complement was demolished 6 months later and replaced by Argos, which is again meant to be contextual, but getting it all wrong with not bothering with the depth of the window reveals or any decoration at all. And then this is dating from the period when it was thought that any building or part of a building faced in timber is invisible. And you just wait for whether it works or not architecturally depends on how it's what it is, how it's built, how it's detailed, how it's maintained. But it doesn't actually make it invisible. Then we have a sort of display of all the different types of cladding you can have on a building. Why choose one? Let's have them all. They don't line up, but they wouldn't, would they? Someone's got a fee for designing this behind the theatre, and yeah, it's not so much the style of architecture, it's the blank facade. What's it doing for the street? Well, nothing very much. This is my favourite bit of Wimbledon, opposite TK Maxx, which is the celebration site of the Wimbledon bollard cult. But what we're trying to do in the neighbourhood plan is not find an architectural style that's suitable, but understand what makes Wimbledon work, what buildings are important, what gives the character to the town centre that we enjoy. And it's a matter of views and history and where the buildings are and the public spaces. And then questions about how high buildings are going to be. Well, it's not just we're not just looking for a number, but it's a question of where do we see the building from? What's it overshadowing? What's it doing for the nearby residential streets? What's it doing for the street that it fronts onto? If we think about those, we can come up with appropriate ideas for building heights and building masses. And some buildings will be big because we want big, great buildings to celebrate. But if we have one big building, we don't want, what's to stop them all being the same size and just making streets that are dull, dark corridors. As I say, there's a lot of people working on this, and we don't all have to come up with our own different visions. We can try and bring the visions together and build on the common ground. The Wimbledon Society has its own vision published at the end of last year, thinking about spaces and thinking, well, you know, what makes a place acceptable and pleasant? And well, it's maybe to do with the, you know, how much sun gets into it. And they're thinking about, well, let's not just think about what Wimbledon's going to look like in a particular date, because actually it's going to change. We need to decide how it's going to get there, how we go into stages, and actually we don't know where we're going to get to in the end. The conditions are going to change, so we need to be adaptable. And difficult to read here, but just 6 things that we would want to put in a neighbourhood plan to describe, to test planning applications about. So for any building, we want to say, well, how fit is it for its purpose? If it's a shop or a house or a hotel or whatever, how does it store on fitness? Is it well designed? How adaptable it is, that the place is going to change. We don't know how Wimbledon's going to change over the next 10, 20, 30 years. Buildings and the spaces around them need to be adaptable. That needs to be in the planning provision. What's the building doing for the space around it? The client, the applicant may not be interested in the space around it, but we are, and the planners should be. Beauty, how attractive is the building going to be? How does it fit into the pattern of movement? How accessible will it be? How is it going to make it easier for people to move around? And finally, what resources are going to be, what resources will be used in building the building and using it, and what effect will it have on the general sustainability of the town centre. Tomorrow night in the same room, you don't even really need to go home. There's another meeting, weirdly, on neighbourhood planning, organised by the Civic Forum, which you may not even know that it existed, and maybe it doesn't exist, but there's a meeting here which I think is going to be very interesting, led by the wonderful local artist Jonathan Parker, who's been drawing Wimbledon town centre and trying to think about how drawing it and thinking about it and visualising it affects how we think about the place in its future. And that's going to be the theme of this really interesting meeting chaired by Stephen Hammond. So do come on. If you're the sort of people who like meetings, which obviously you are, come on for another one tomorrow night and find out more about neighbourhood planning. If you're interested in neighbourhood planning, because we need more people to be involved, it should be fun. So if you're interested, give me your email address or contact us on that email address. But it would be really good to get some of you involved in that process. And I'd like to leave you with an inspirational slogan. Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach him to fish and you feed him and his family for a lifetime. Teach him to plan and he'll wish he had chosen to fish.
So Rob, thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Rob, obviously very thorough presentation, but may not be.
On one of your drawings, you showed the elevation of the sun and the sunlight coming down, which is not a consideration I'd even considered. You know, it's very, very important.
Yeah, I mean, it's what planners do. I mean, it's what they should do. You know, we need to say to them, you know, these are the considerations that, you know, it's easy enough to say what feels right, well, 8 stories or 23 stories here. But the reason why that's important is because it has an effect on the street, on the sunlight, the daylight, the wind, a whole range of things, which if you think about, and if the developer thinks about it, if the council hasn't got the resources to think about them, they should say to the developer, look, these are the things we need to know about the impact of this building. We need to know exactly what it's going to feel like, how it's going to add to making the town centre more pleasant. Yeah.
I like the plan, the local plan, pretty freestanding. How do you deal with tension between the two? Or how does the plan deal with tension between the two?
With what, sorry?
Tension between the two.
How it works is that the neighbourhood plan has to conform to the local plan. So there won't be any tensions between the two. So the idea is that the local plan has general plans, so it has plans on design and environment or whatever, and the neighbourhood plan has more detail, but the neighbourhood plan can't conflict with the local plan.
I know you spoke at the Wimbledon Society, and that was equally informative. Thank you for that. The Wimbledon Society's plan has addressed the 10 things Wimbledon wants, which was developed through the extensive use of this space to generate the concepts and the importance areas, which included like movement. It's just how you get around the town, that sort of thing. Well-being is a huge issue, and planners, TFL and stuff, everybody's now looking at the importance of well-being in the environment, and so sunlight and the positive, you get, depression from not enough sun, etc. And I wondered if are you possibly working with the Wimbledon Society's skeleton plan as a part of your neighbourhood plan, or are you working with them at all?
No, we are working with them, and we have to work with any organisation, because where there's a lot of conflict, probably that won't work. But there's enough common ground for us to. The question is really, taking the Wimbledon Society plan, say, well, there's things in that would be generally supported. How do you turn them into a neighbourhood planning policy? Because that'll give them real teeth. And some of them will say, well, actually, no, that can't be a planning policy because it's not something the planning covers, or it's not in the local plan. But if those things are so, then we can make a neighbourhood plan, and it needs to be something very specific that you can then put the test planning applications against.
So it would be in the residents' interest to support the neighbourhood plan, referring to the society's plan. Because the master plan only that exists, it's not really a master plan, but it only has 3 of the 10 things, and one of them, like the whole building height issue, which they got quite obsessed about. So it seems to me we should all be supporting the neighbourhood plan, Rob?
Seems to me as well. And what goes in it will depend on whoever's working on it. I don't know. We've got a good group of people who've been working on it, and they've all got their ideas. But we need to get more people involved and consult on it, and out of that will come the answer. Yeah.
Could you tell us a little more about the Wimbledon Forum itself, like how many people you got involved and what you're sort of working on together, and how far you have got with it, and just a little bit of explanation.
At the moment, we have about 50 people signed up who come to meetings, not all together, but who are signed up. We've got a Survey Monkey form where we gather. We need to become a neighbourhood forum officially. We have to apply to the council, and the council has to agree for us to be a neighbourhood forum. And to do that, we have to have about 20 people from a range of who are sort of broadly representative of the people in the neighbourhood plan area. So we need to reach out to more people to become more representative. We need to define the area, so we have got a draft area, and we've taken the area which is basically the town centre, the council's town centre area, the Council South Barn Gardens neighbourhood, which is the nearest residential area, which is a council neighbourhood. So we're trying to keep it in line with council identified spaces, because that makes it more easy to collect the information we need and the data. Plus the two sites that are important in terms of Crossrail that the master plan defines as being a place where developments are likely to happen. But actually, it's up to the council. We're suggesting a particular boundary for the area, but it's up to the council to decide whether that boundary is appropriate. And they may say it's not big enough or it's too big. It's up to them. But we're trying to keep it reasonably small, but enough to reflect the business centre and the nearby residential community.
Thank you.
Okay, are we done?
I mean, this sounds good. There seem to be lots of various plans about Wimbledon Town Centre over the past few years. And, I mean, planning sort of overtakes you. I mean, we've got Hartfield Road, is it 2 hotels going through, or you know, possibly going through the planning process. We've got the extra hotel down in the Broadway. We had the YMCA, of course, which seems to have died a death at the moment, and we don't know what's happening in the background. But there are all these things galloping up. So, you know, how quickly is it envisaged that this more detailed plan, which would have more of an effect on planning applications like that, how quickly is that anticipated to be up and running?
It probably would take at least 2 years to prepare the plan. But the thing about the neighbourhood plan is that even when you start preparing it, it still has an effect on planning applications. So a planning inspector at an inquiry will still look at the neighbourhood plan and say, here's the draft neighbourhood plan, and although it won't have the full impact of when it's finally approved, and when it's finally approved, it has to go to a referendum, which, as we know, is the key to a smooth and satisfactory democratic process. But there's been lots of referendums, and 88% of them have the neighbourhood plan has been improved, and that's what gives it the muscle, so it has support. But the hope is that, you know, at the moment, applications come up all the time, and we have to fight each one on, because there's not enough planning policy. You know, the council planning policy isn't very specific. You have to interpret it, and if we can nail a few things down to the town centre to say, you know, this is in the neighbourhood plan. For those things, you know, you wouldn't have to go back to square one each time. You would have more banked, and it would have more effect. So, you know, it should save time, and we hope, you know, to save a lot of the argument, because, you know, we want to make the planning process smoother, you know, for residents, but also for developers, because it's a waste of their time and landowners not knowing what they're going to get planning permission for. If we can give more certainty, then that can help everybody.
They rush in there knowing that there's nothing specific.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the danger, because you know, they go in with great respect, the planning officers, they you know, cuts in numbers of officers, they don't have enough officers to examine everything, and developers are very clever, they know all that, you know, they're right in there, you know, and so it'd be a good idea if the council, knowing this detailed thing is going to be happening, just stands back a bit if there's big developments, you know. It's a balance, I realise that, but you know, because otherwise things just get built. And there's no way out. Look at, you had a picture of, was it Viscount Point, the big flats down the Broadway, there's other places. And they're up now, you know. There was, just quickly, there was an application some years ago, quite near Viscount Point. I think it's a privately owned office site. They had this wonderful big cedar tree. Some people may remember that. And it was an iconic tree. And I think on the planning application, there was something about the tree preservation officer of the council was recommending it stayed, but then it just was cut down, you know, and the tree was an absolute feature, more or less opposite once at Holy Trinity Church in the Broadway, you know, and great plans to develop that site, the treatment to go. The site has not been developed, and that's years and years ago. You know, so you know we lose things unless things happen as quickly as
no, I mean the sooner we do it, the better. But as we've seen, you know, 1984, that was we've got there, but you know, 25 years later, we're still thinking, we haven't quite got there yet. But we'll work it out.
35 years.
Okay. Rob, thanks so much. Thanks for coming to see us. Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. So we have Helen with us from Wimbledon. Helen is a great supporter of the forum, so thank you, Helen. Welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much.
Or I could just stand with it, maybe that's it. Great. Good evening. Thank you very much, everybody, for allowing Love Wimbledon a voice tonight. As previously mentioned, I attend every single Wimbledon Community Forum from a business perspective. I am also a local resident, have been for 25 years, so it's of interest to me as well from that perspective. But actually, since I've had the role of Chief Executive of the Love Wimbledon Business Improvement District, it is much more pertinent for me to be here. So, although I may not always get to speak and respond, I am making notes of things that are happening within the town centre, so that as a business community we can respond wherever we are, wherever possible. Love Wimbledon, just so that, I don't know how many of you actually understand who we are and what we are. We were formed in 2012, so we've been around for 7 and a bit years now. We are funded and managed and led by the business community of the town centre. So we are not council operated, we have good relationships with the council. Equally, we hold them to account on a number of things as well. So, but we are funded by a mandatory levy of the businesses within a designated area of the town centre. So that's the angle that we're coming at. But also we are here really with the same objective as a lot of the residents and the majority of residents, I would like to think, to make Wimbledon actually fundamentally a much better place in whatever way we possibly can. Because actually if you've got that virtuous circle of businesses thriving, residents enjoying the town centre, then that all feeds into be one happy, enjoyable place. So I don't know how many of you are immediately local residents, but hopefully you've seen that come through your door. That's our Love Wimbledon Wimbledon Guide. We publish that twice a year. I have some spare copies at the back there for those that haven't received it. It goes to about 65,000 residents in a big ring around the town centre, and it talks a little bit about what's going on in the town centre over the next few months, but also things that have been happening as well. But for those that haven't had the enjoyment of reading that, just to give you some idea of what is happening in the town centre over the next few weeks. So we are responsible for the monthly markets that's happen on the piazza. So the next market is on the 29th and 30th of June. Really pleased to say that since we launched this year, we are also single-use plastic free at that market. We've worked really hard with all the traders to make sure that they are not producing and giving out single-use plastics. And if you spend over £20, you also get a Love Wimbledon market bag, which is also therefore reusable. Close on the heels of that, we obviously have that lovely little tennis game coming to town. So the big screen will arrive from the 1st to the 14th of July on the piazza. So hope to see you on a deck chair, hopefully with the sunshine, you never know your luck, during that time to soak up the environment of the tennis. Following on from that, 15th of July to the 2nd of August, we put some deck chairs and some picnic benches out. So one of the issues that we constantly are lobbying for in the town centre is that there is a dearth of anywhere to sit down. We just talked about the seats earlier, so I think it was yourself that mentioned
the seats in the bollarded area outside Centre Court, actually those seats are really being used, even though they are effectively right on the highway, which is quite interesting. So that's our sort of nod to that, and hopefully you'll enjoy eating a sandwich or grabbing a coffee or just taking the weight off your feet in summer sit-out. That's the 15th of July to the 2nd of August. Following straight on from that, you'll notice that we haven't had a break yet. Monthly market of the 3rd and 4th of August on the Piazza, which also coincides with Ride London on the 4th of August. So do remember that the roads will be closed on the 4th of August from about 7 o'clock in the morning until about 7:30 in the evening for our annual cycle ride to come through. So all of Walpole Road and Wimbledon Hill Road is closed off for that, and likewise the buses don't operate between Kingston and Putney during those days too. So that takes us through to the 4th of August, and you've noticed we haven't had a day off yet. So we are a hard-working team. We are here delivering a point of enjoyment and a point of difference for the town centre. From an environmental and sustainable perspective, I'd like to welcome you to National Refill Day today. Every day has a day these days. I'm really pleased to say that within Wimbledon we have a large number of businesses now that have signed up to the water refilling station. So you can go in with your plastic bottle or your portable bottle that you have. Thank you very much. Example A on my left. And fill up your water bottle for free. We've also been lobbying and have been successful, but I'm awaiting a date for it, for a water refilling station to be installed. It was an application that we were able to submit for the TfL and Mayor of London Fund that Thames Water have also got behind. We're struggling to find a location for that at the moment, but we will get there, and it will be this summer, I can assure you, because I'm shouting loud for that one. But we are also working with Sustainable Merton on a wide number of environmental initiatives, because it is important not only as residents, as individuals, but also as businesses that we get behind that, and that's something that Loch Lomond is absolutely passionate about. Following on from that, also tomorrow, as I said, every day has its day, it's Clean Air Day tomorrow. So on Wimbledon Piazza, Merton Council are there talking about various initiatives that we can all do and undertake in order to help improve our air quality. During the last few weeks and months, we've had a number of new businesses coming into town, and it's really indicative that our vacancy rate remains very, very low. Our occupancy rate remains high, which is a better way of putting it. And we are also remaining a very attractive town centre for office occupiers. You'll all have heard about the potential of Debenhams closing down in Wimbledon. I would like to say that that was potential. That was the word that was missed from all of the press that was issued. So it was a potential list of 20 closures. It's still not absolutely confirmed that Debenhams is closing down. There are still negotiations and conversations to be had around that. So obviously as soon as we know, then we'll come out and let you know too. The staff there have started the staff consultation, because obviously that's the legal process that they need to go through. But suffice to say, it's not actually a done deal yet. But on a more positive note, I don't know if you've tried Nori, our Japanese tea house. It's a very serene and very calming environment to go in there. The same organisation, which is an independent organisation, has just launched Yori. So we've got Nori and Yori in the town centre, which is a Korean barbecue that's just opened its doors. We've also got O'Donnell's, which if you're partial to ice cream, again, particularly maybe at some stage this time this year, we will be wanting to cool ourselves down. So that's a gelato shop that's opened up sort of opposite Black's. Anybody that wants a free ice cream, on Saturday they're giving away free gelato from 12 till 6, so a bit of a plug there for a new organisation. We're also really pleased that Helen and Ely's have extended their shops to welcome their urban beauty, and Gina Conway have moved across the street from that. So although that looks like a vacant shop, it's not because Gina Conway have closed down, but they've decided to incorporate themselves within Ely's, which I think is a great partnership. Hopefully you'll have been able to see on social media, if not seen it yourself, the lovely rainbow crossing that has gone in just outside New Wimbledon Theatre. Wimbledon needs to differentiate itself, and Rob actually highlighted some of the awful architecture in the town centre, some of the grand architecture in the town centre, but actually Wimbledon is quite generic in so many different ways and very odd in some perspectives as well. I'm not offending anybody's ego by saying that, but it's quite eclectic is probably a better word. So one of the things that Love Wimbledon is really trying to do all the time is to make it a better place. It's commonly known as place shaping in the jargon. And one of the things that we need to do in order to do that is to make a point of difference. The Rainbow Crossing was a joint initiative with Merton Council and Love Wimbledon to celebrate the first opening of Merton's first ever LGBTQ bar at CMYK. So we were really pleased to be a part of that. From a what we call look and feel perspective, so how does the town centre feel from as you're walking around? We have a ranger, commonly known as Ranger Tom. He wears either a bright pink shirt during the summer or a bright blue outfit during the winter. So if you see him, do say hello to him. He has reported and resolved over 300 issues in the town centre over the last 3 months, and that's anything from utilities, highways, waste, graffiti, street cleansing, fly tipping, fly posting, and all of those get resolved by us hounding. So one of the things as a resident I hope that you would be able to understand and support us on is that we are actually shouting for the town centre to become a much nicer place by reporting that graffiti and getting it removed, reporting the fact that the street isn't being cleansed or the fly tipping and fly posting and getting that resolved quickly for you. We're also currently lobbying Deliveroo fairly hard. It's been an issue that's building up for the last 18 months in particular, with the large number of motorbikes that are hanging out, particularly on Wimbledon Bridge, but also down some of the side alleyways. It is of great concern to us about the Deliveroo drivers and the numbers that are in the town centre and the way that they are behaving. So we've now finally got hold of somebody who's a senior manager, and I think his title is actually Head of Rider Engagement. Like a title. And so we're working very, very proactively with them to resolve some of the issues that we're experiencing that. They do support our businesses, they do support people being able to enjoy takeaways at home from our businesses in the town centre, but I think there is a fine balance there between the way that they are behaving and not becoming an annoyance in the town centre. So we're talking about things like workshops and communication tools to those riders to make sure that they are behaving themselves in Wimbledon town centre and not blocking parking bays and that sort of thing. It's taking its time. We're not there yet, but we are working on it certainly. So in summary, I'd like to say stay in touch with us. We are a very engaged organisation. We're a very small team. There are only 7 of us and 3 of them are part-time. But we are here on the same agenda as you to make Wimbledon a great place. And if you've got any ideas or any issues that you're experiencing, then do get in touch with us. Our website has a lot of what's on information as well as generic information about things like parking and transport, etc. We're very active on all social media, so Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. So really stay in touch and hopefully we can all love Wimbledon together. Thank you.
Helen, thank you very much. Questions, comments? Yes.
How do we find out which premises will refill our water bottles? Do they have the logo in the window or anything?
There is an app that you can download on your phone called Refill, and that highlights exactly where you are. So it's not just Wimbledon, it's actually national, and it will point to your local refill station. In essence, in Wimbledon, it's the cost as the Starbucks, but also we're getting all of the pubs on there as well. So, but most organisations, honestly, if you walk in now and say, "Can I just fill up my water bottle?" they'd be daft to say no.
Thank you.
Hi, Helen, thank you. Question, Rob's slide behind me. The clocks, the 2 clocks in the town centre, I don't know if you can have a word with anyone about maybe getting a suit in. You've probably tried.
Yes.
Good.
Yes, so the Prince of Wales actually we lobbied hard for, and that is now operational. Yes, yes. So that should be telling the correct time. I haven't checked it today, but yes, Green King, when they took on that ownership of that pub, actually invested, I think, about £8,000 in getting that up and running. The Centre Court one, I think, is probably the other one that you were talking about, above the town hall, the old town hall. Yes. Working on it. New manager at Centre Court, twisting arms. He knows it's an issue. Yes, clocks are very expensive, unfortunately. Yes, yeah.
The old chestnut of the address at 100 the Broadway. Turkish restaurant.
Coming soon.
I mean, this has been on, for what, 2 years now? How strong are you in getting this solved in the council, who should be doing something? Here, I think it's a bit illegal that they've extended onto the thing. And it just looks such an eyesore. We all want the town to be a nice place. So.
Yeah, I absolutely share your frustration. That unit actually has not been opened since we launched in 2012, so that will tell you, 7.5 years. We, as a bid, as a business improvement district, actually have no powers, but we are very persuasive and we lobby very, very hard. So if you remember a couple of years ago, that used to be covered in fly posting. We lobbied the council to get the fly posting removed, and they have a particular article that they can use for that. Forgive me, I did remember what it was, but I can't remember what it is now, about not allowing fly posting on your site, which is why the restaurant coming soon went up. Unfortunately, I can't tell you when it's coming, but I would absolutely not hold your breath. Frankly, he's not answering my phone calls right now. He's not responding to anything from the council. He can sit on that for as long as he wants to. There is no legal obligation for them to open their business, which is a real shame.
The same ownership as the previous 100?
No, it was Cento. And that has been sold, but they do open another business in Wimbledon.
So it could be another 10 years before something happens there. I mean,
it's up to them, isn't it? Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, I appreciate your limitations, but surely the council should be able, after all this time, to start doing something,
We don't have any powers either.
Sorry?
We don't have any powers to make money.
Yeah, it's like any derelict building. It's owned by somebody. It's your right to keep it in the state that you wish to keep it, unless it's an environmental health hazard. So it's
a bigger problem with which goes into the grounds.
Yeah.
It defeats the purpose of trying to make Wimbledon.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. It's a big bone of contention for us, absolutely. We will keep on it, certainly.
What's the other business?
I'm not at liberty to tell you that, I'm afraid.
Is there a planning issue involved with that? I.e. with frontage? I mean, would plans have to be submitted? Because if I remember, there's normally a condition that work has to start within 5 days before, 5 years, sorry, before the permission is renewed. Now, is there a way around that where you would say if you haven't started the work, so any planning permission is void?
Yeah,
So,
that would be the case.
Sorry?
That would be the case. If they had planning permission back in 2012, it would no longer be valid at that start again.
Yeah, and has that process happened if it's been open?
I don't know if we have any planning
I don't think there is a planning application that applies. There's no planning application that applies to it because it's all internal works. And actually, I was inside a couple of years ago.
A roof that somebody's stuck on the outside, that's really appalling. Now, one presumes that wouldn't be like that, might be just done.
Yes. Yeah.
Whether there's
Not further
where you should
questions.
say, sorry, that's got to come down and that plan comes.
Yeah.
And tidy up in front.
Yeah.
Is there a way of doing that?
I don't think there is anything with it, because certainly I've been talking to planning about it to get the enforcement on the billboarding stuff. So I think if there was anything, they would have jumped on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Redundantly, on your 2019 map, it would be nice, perhaps, if St Mark's Church could be shown here, because that's one of the areas where culture and other events do take place. I'm interested in the design of the Boris bus that never was, the artist that has chosen to rear entrance hop on buses. Perhaps is this an aspiration of Council's new transport policy, particularly one which is left-hand drive going east along Wimbledon Broadway. I also see that the train was remade with the Liverpool South West trains, and not in the rather bland South West Railway. I think one of the things that oh yes, and the angel on top of the theatre, that could be next week.
Point taken, thank you. Yes, for those that haven't seen, we create a Love Wimbledon map every year primarily for tourists that come through from the station, so that they come back and enjoy the town centre. So it's primarily about hospitality in there. We commissioned an artist to do those hand drawings a few years ago now, so point taken, it's probably a time to bring those up to date.
Yes, so is that taxi rank by the side of the station actually called Orinoco?
It is, yes. Yeah.
Okay, final questions, comments for Helen?
Yeah, what about the Orinoco Lane? Is there something that Love Wimbledon can do to stop taxis providing continually?
Again, we have no powers. We do lobby. We've been shouting at TfL and Merton Council actually for some little while on that. There are now anti-idling signs being put up there. They're about that size, unfortunately. So I have asked the bigger signs to go up because actually I don't think those are terribly legible for anybody. We have been trying to work with the parking enforcement agents to go along there and stop them because in my opinion, that is not a taxi rank. They should not be waiting there. They should certainly not be polluting the environment there. But there is no policing taxi ranks across London. As a black cabbie, you can go and sit wherever you want to and wait for the rank to go through, because I was saying surely there's a maximum number of taxis on that rank. Yes, again, it's one of those issues in the town centre that we're really not happy about. And if there's a way through it, then we would be jumping on it. So if you've got any top tips. But aside from that, I'm now in communication with the lead marshal of the taxi rank, which again has taken us a while to get through to that. So we are working with him proactively to try and manage all the taxis there.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think we've ever finished before our guillotine before, but it looks as though we're going to tonight. So the next meeting is 25th of September. Thank you all very much for coming along, and I wish you a good rest of your summer. So thank you very much and good night.